In the heart of Runeterra, where the Kumungu jungle thrives in untamed splendor, two fierce souls carve their legends amidst the chaos of nature. Nidalee, the protector of the wilds, lives by instinct and loyalty to the creatures and spirits of her verdant home. Rengar, the relentless pride stalker, roams the world in search of worthy prey, his heart driven by the thrill of the hunt. When fate forces their paths to cross over bloodied soil and roaring beasts, their rivalry ignites a fire neither can extinguish. As greater threats loom, from invading forces of Ixtal, led by the ambitious Kayana, these sworn enemies must forge a fragile alliance. In a world where only the strongest survive, Nidalee and Rengar will discover that there are battles worth fighting beyond territory and pride, battles of the heart. In the dance of fangs and claws, love may prove to be the fiercest hunt of all. Title of Fangs and Claws. Chapter 1. Blood in the Jungle. The Kumungu jungle seethed with life. The air was thick with humidity and the scent of damp earth. Somewhere deep within, two predators stalked the same prey. Nidalee crouched low in the underbrush, golden eyes narrowing as she sniffed the air. A massive Kragadon had wounded a handful of Ixtali hunters, and she had vowed to protect her jungle. The beast would fall tonight. A low growl stopped her in her tracks. She knew that scent well, the reek of blood, old leather and iron. Rengar. The pride stalker was here, again. He had been crossing into her territory too often, challenging the balance of her domain. Mine, she hissed under her breath, slipping silently through the trees. Above, Rengar prowled across a thick branch, his single eye gleaming with feral excitement. He caught her scent as well, sharp, wild, unmistakable. "The hunt is mine, woman," he growled aloud, not caring for subtlety. Nidalee shifted in an instant, her human form replaced by a lithe cougar. With a roar, she leapt at him, claws extended. They clashed mid-air, tumbling through leaves and branches, each refusing to yield. Chapter 2. Clash of Predators. Steel flashed as Rengar swung his blade, but Nidalee was faster, ducking and raking his side with sharp claws. He snarled, pivoting to drive his elbow into her flank, knocking her back into a tree. "Stay out of my jungle!" she spat, shifting back to human form. "Your jungle!" He bared his teeth in a humorless grin. "Everything worth hunting belongs to the strongest!" Their battle raged until the Kragadon's roar interrupted them. It was nearby, and it was not alone. The ground trembled. A herd of lesser beasts followed it, drawn by the scent of blood. Nidalee and Rengar exchanged a look. Temporary truce. Without a word, they sprang into action, moving together with an uneasy synchronicity. She weaved through the stampede, planting spears into vulnerable spots. Rengar leapt from above, severing tendons and blinding eyes. When the dust settled, the Kragadon lay dead. The herd scattered. They stood panting, bloodied and victorious. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Rengar rumbled, "Perhaps you are worth hunting after all." Nidalee's lips curled into a dangerous smile. "And perhaps you are worth sparing." Chapter 3. Uneasy Alliance. News spread fast in Ixtal. Chiana herself, Empress of the Elements, dispatched warriors to secure the jungle from outside threats. "They will destroy everything," Nidalee growled when she learned of it from an old ally, Nico, the curious chameleon, Nico had sensed the danger from afar. Big people with shiny metal sticks, loud, very loud. Reluctantly, Nidali sought Rengar out. "We have a bigger threat," she said, crossing her arms. Rengar sniffed the wind. He didn't trust easily, but he respected strength. "Fine. We fight together. For now." Chapter 4. Jungle Fire. Battles with the Ixtali invaders were brutal. Elemental magic scorched the earth. Trees shattered under unnatural storms. Nidali and Rengar fought back to back, moving like one creature. He tore through armor. She picked off mages from the shadows. Late one night, after a grueling skirmish, they found themselves in a secluded glen. A fire crackled between them, throwing shadows over their scarred bodies. "You fight well," Rengar admitted, gnawing on a roasted leg. "And you are less stupid than you look," she teased, smirking. He chuckled low in his throat, a rare, genuine sound. Their eyes met across the flames. Heat simmered in the humid air, thick and heavy. Predators. Equals. Something shifted between them, dangerous and electric. Chapter 5. The Wild Within. They sparred often, testing each other's strength, sometimes for training, sometimes for the sheer joy of it. Each bout brought them closer. One night, a spar turned heated. Rengar pinned Nidalee against a tree, his breath ragged. "Yield!" he growled. She laughed, slipping free and twisting him to the ground. "Never!" Their bodies tangled. The line between fighting and something else blurred. She leaned in, brushing her nose against his, a cougar's affectionate nuzzle. He growled softly, a sound of longing, not threat. Their lips met in a bruising kiss, teeth clashing, wild and desperate. The jungle itself seemed to hold its breath. They were creatures of instinct. And tonight, instinct ruled. Chapter 6. Bonds Forged in Blood. Morning found them curled together in the roots of an ancient tree. Nidalee traced the scars along Rengar's chest, each telling a story. "I was alone for so long," she murmured. "As was I," he replied gruffly, but his hand was gentle where it touched her hair. But peace was fleeting. Nico arrived with dire news. "Kiana is coming. Big storm. Big anger." Together, they would have to face a new, greater threat or lose everything. Chapter 7. The Empress's Wrath. Kiana swept through the jungle like a tempest, her magic ripping apart the very ground. "This jungle belongs to Ixtal," she declared, her golden chakram gleaming. "It belongs to no one," Nidalee roared. The battle was fierce. Nico lent her illusions, Rengar his ferocity. Kiana, despite her arrogance, was a formidable opponent. She lashed out with earthen spears and torrents of water. In the end, it was a coordinated strike. Rengar's blade, Nidalee's spear, and Nico's illusion that drove her back, bloodied and furious. Chapter 8. Scars and Healing. The jungle healed slowly, trees regrew, beasts returned. Nidalee and Rengar stood atop a cliff, overlooking their domain. "You could leave," she said. "Go chase bigger prey." He rumbled, "I have found the greatest hunt." She laughed, warm and bright, pressing a kiss to his scarred cheek. Chapter 9. Tamed and Untamed. They made a life together of sorts. wild and free. Sometimes they fought. Sometimes they loved so fiercely the jungle echoed with their cries. They were not tame, they would never be, but they belonged to the jungle and to each other. Chapter 10 of Fangs and Claws. On quiet nights under a canopy of stars, Nidalee would rest her head against Rengar's chest and listen to the steady beat of his heart. They had been enemies, rivals, lovers, two predators who had found in each other a home. And the jungle, vast and eternal, would always be theirs. End. Next is another story in the world of Runeterra. We not travel to Ionia to see Yasuo and Ahri. In the war-torn lands of Ionia, two wanderers traverse a shattered realm scarred by Noxian invasions and ancient wounds. Ahri, the nine-tailed fox, seeks lost fragments of her forgotten past, yearning to reclaim the humanity she once knew. Yasuo, the exiled swordsman burdened by guilt and the death of his brother, roams the land aimlessly, the wind his only companion. Bound by loss, regret, and an unspoken yearning for redemption, their fates entwine when a looming threat, the dark ambitions of Noxus's Grand General, Swain, threatens to corrupt the spiritual heart of Ionia. Drawn together by necessity, tested by battle, and tempered by trust, Ahri and Yasuo must confront not only the dangers of a world in turmoil, but also the walls built around their own wounded hearts. In a journey of blades and sorcery, betrayal and sacrifice, they will discover that even the fiercest souls can find solace in each other when the winds of destiny whisper their names. Title: Whispers on the Wind. Chapter 1. Crossing Paths. The wind howled across the plains of Ionia, bending the tall grasses under its mournful song. Somewhere between the Shonzan forest and a ruined monastery, two souls moved toward an inevitable collision. Ahri walked alone, her tails drifting behind her like ribbons of mist. She hunted knowledge, seeking shards of her lost past and the fragments of her humanity. Her sharp ears twitched. A fight was nearby. Yasuo, the disgraced swordsman, battled a squad of Noxian scouts, his blade singing through the air. The dance of steel and wind was mesmerizing. Curious, Ahri watched from the shadows. When the last soldier fell, she stepped into the open, slow and graceful. "You're bleeding," she said, voice lilting. "I noticed," Yasuo grunted, wiping his blade clean. Their eyes locked, hers amused, his wary. Two wanderers, lost in their own ways. Chapter 2. A Thorny Alliance. Later that night, they sat by a small fire. Yasuo said little. Ahri said less. "Why follow me?" he finally asked. Ahri shrugged, a sly smile playing at her lips. "Perhaps I like the way you move." He snorted. "Dangerous creatures like you usually do." When a fresh Noxian patrol tracked them the next morning, Ahri unleashed her magic alongside Yasuo's blade. Together, they carved a path through the soldiers. "Not bad," she teased after. He smirked. "You're not bad yourself." Neither trusted the other, not yet, but survival demanded cooperation. Chapter 3. Whispers of the Past. Ionia was scarred with ruins. One such ruin, a shrine to forgotten spirits, drew them in. Ahri traced faded carvings, memories flickering at the edge of her mind. "You seek something," Yasuo said, quietly. "Don't we all?" she replied. Later, under the light of twin moons, she told him of her past, vague memories of another life, of pain and longing. In turn, Yasuo spoke of his exile, his brother's death, the blade he carried out of guilt more than duty. For the first time, a fragile thread of understanding wove between them. Chapter 4. Storm on the Horizon. Word spread. Swain himself was rumored to be moving through Ionia, gathering dark power. "We should avoid him," Yasuo advised. "Or we could find out what he seeks," Ari countered, mischief gleaming in her eyes. Against his better judgment, Yasuo followed her deeper into danger. They encountered Sona, silent and radiant, who warned them with mournful melodies of Swain's dark rituals. "We must act," Ari insisted, "before he twists this land even further." Yasuo sighed. Damn fox. But he would not let her walk into danger alone. Chapter 5. Dance of Blades and Sorcery. They infiltrated a corrupted monastery. The air was thick with magic and malice. Swain's forces were many. Ahri wove illusions, disorienting enemies, while Yasuo struck with precision. In the heart of the ruin, they faced Rel, the Iron Maiden, sworn to protect Swain's prize, a shard of pure spiritual energy. Rel fought like a tempest, her metal magic nearly overwhelming them. But together, they wore her down. Yasuo shattered her armor with a final whirlwind strike. Ari drained her strength with a kiss of the spirit. Victorious, but battered, they fled with the shard. Chapter 6. Sanctuary. They hid in an abandoned village. Rain fell in heavy sheets. In a small hut, Yasuo tended Ari's wounds, his calloused hands surprisingly gentle. "You're reckless," he muttered. "And you're stubborn," she retorted, hissing as he cleaned a gash on her thigh. Their bickering faded into silence. Heat simmered between them, as tangible as the storm outside. Yasuo brushed a damp lock of hair from her face. "We can't afford distractions." Ari's lips curved. "Then don't be distracted." But it was already too late. Chapter 7. Breaking Walls. That night, temptation overpowered caution. Their kiss was inevitable, fierce and consuming. Tails wrapped around them. Yasuo's hands gripped her as if anchoring himself. They found solace in each other's arms, two broken souls seeking warmth against the storm. When dawn came, they lay tangled together, hearts beating in hesitant unison. "This changes nothing," Yasuo said hoarsely. Ari only smiled. Of course not. But deep down, they both knew it changed everything. Chapter 8. Entwined Destinies. They traveled together, hunting Noxian agents corrupting sacred sites. Ahri teased him mercilessly. Yasuo tolerated it with growing affection. They crossed paths with Irelia, who demanded to know their intentions. "We fight for Ionia," Yasuo said simply. Surprised but convinced, Irelia lent them a small band of fighters. War loomed, and amidst the chaos, their bond deepened. Chapter 9. The Turning Point. Swain launched a full assault on Ionia's Spirit Blossom Festival, seeking to harvest souls. Ahri and Yasuo led the defense. The battle was brutal. Spirit and flesh collided. Yasuo fought with a ferocity born of redemption. Ahri unleashed the true depth of her power, her foxfire tearing through shadows. They found Swain atop a sacred mountain, draining the land's life. Together, they faced him. Together, they would win or fall. Chapter 10. Sacrifices. Swain was cunning, his magic monstrous. At a critical moment, he struck at Ari, binding her with dark chains. Yasuo made a choice without hesitation. A gust of wind, a blur of steel. He threw himself into the spell's path, freeing her, but taking the blow. Ari screamed, power bursting from her in a blinding wave. Swain fell, defeated. But Yasuo, he lay broken at her feet. Chapter 11. Resurrection. Ari cradled Yasuo, her tears mixing with blood. She summoned every ounce of spirit energy they had gathered, pouring it into him. Her magic stitched his wounds, mended his soul. Slowly, painfully, he opened his eyes. "You really are distracting," he rasped. She laughed through her sobs, kissing his forehead, his lips. Life returned to him and to her. Chapter 12. Whispers on the Wind. In the months that followed, they wandered together. Legends whispered of the fox and the swordsman, protectors of Ionia. Sometimes they fought, sometimes they loved. Always they endured. On quiet nights, when the wind carried the scent of cherry blossoms, Ahri would rest her head against Yasuo's shoulder. "The wind brought you to me," she would murmur. And he, ever the wanderer, would answer, "And it will never carry me away." End. If you are still awake, I hope the story enticed you to explore more of the beautiful world of Runeterra. For those on the edge of night, I wish you a wonderful slumber and an energized sunrise. Good night. Exposition. In the highlands of Targon and the sacred mountains of Ionia, ancient powers stir once again. Lee Sin, the blind monk and master of the spirit dragon, roams the world to maintain balance between mortal ambition and celestial will. Leona, the radiant dawn and chosen of the Solari, is a living embodiment of the sun's might, sworn to protect the world from darkness. When an ancient evil reawakens, embodied by Morgana, the fallen, who seeks to unshackle mortal hearts through vengeance and chaos, their fates collide. Amid trials of fire, spirit, and light, Lee Sin and Leona must forge a bond stronger than steel, learning that even the brightest souls carry shadows. In a journey brimming with fierce battles, emotional awakenings, and forbidden love, they will discover that the only way to triumph over the darkness within and without is together. Chapter 1. The Gathering Storm. The celestial winds howled atop Mount Targon. Lee Sin meditated at the summit, his spirit tethered to the deeper currents of the world. The mountain groaned beneath him, ancient magic awakening. His senses, far keener than sight, warned him of a disturbance below, one that twisted the sacred harmony of life itself. Images danced behind his closed eyes, villages burning, spirits crying out. Far to the south, in the halls of the Solari temple, Leona knelt before the shining icon of the sun. The council of elders, grave and watchful, spoke of the fallen sister, Morgana, whose words of false liberation fanned rebellion across the valleys. Their voices were tinged with fear, for Morgana was not merely an enemy of the Solari, but a once beloved sister lost to darkness. "We must bring the dawn to these shadows," Leona said, her voice ringing clear. Duty weighed heavy on her shoulders, but she bore it gladly. The sun was her oath, her guide. The council agreed. Thus, two paths, one of spirit, one of light, began to converge. Chapter 2: An Unexpected Meeting. In the lush Ionian valley near the ruins of Hirana Monastery, the land sang a broken song of mourning. Lee Sin fought alone, fending off Morgana's acolytes who poisoned the waters and burned the sacred groves. Each strike of his fists sent shockwaves through the mist, each movement a prayer for redemption. Leona descended like a spear of light, her shield blazing. Her arrival turned the tide of battle, fire meeting fire, purpose meeting purpose. When the dust settled, they faced one another. "You are not blind," Leona said, seeing the wisdom and sorrow etched into his stance. "Nor are you chained to sight alone," Lee Sin answered, hearing the compassion hidden behind her radiance. From mutual respect, a tentative alliance was forged, an alliance born not of convenience, but of kindred souls. Chapter 3: Shadows of Morgana. Whole villages whispered Morgana's promises: freedom from judgment, release from pain. But freedom twisted by hatred is but another form of bondage. Her words preyed on old wounds, deepening scars left by broken faith. Lee Sin reflected on his own failures, the monastery he had destroyed in his youth, a wound that still bled in his soul. Leona recalled the countless Solari cast into exile for daring to love, to question the rigid doctrines that shaped her faith. "We understand why they listen," she said, pain flickering in her golden eyes. "And because we understand," Lee Sin answered, "we must not falter." Their journey deepened into enemy territory and into each other's guarded hearts, each step a test of conviction. Chapter 4: Trials by Fire. At the cavern of the Sleeping Dragon, where elemental forces ran wild, a corrupted dragon emerged, a twisted mockery of the spirit guardians meant to protect the sacred lands. Lee Sin channeled the spirit of the dragon within him, igniting the cavern in a swirling inferno. The beast roared, and its breath blackened the stalactites above. Leona shielded them both with radiant barriers, pushing her limits as solar magic clashed with corrupted flame. Exhausted and scarred, they retreated to a grove where ancient spirits wept, their sorrow palpable in the mist. By the fire's light, Lee Sin tended Leona's burns, his touch trembling, reverent. "You endure," he whispered. "Because there is no other choice," she replied, her voice raw with pain and pride. Their hands lingered too long, heartbeats quickened. In the stillness, emotions flared, unspoken, yet undeniable. Chapter 5: Dance of Light and Spirit. Training together became more than survival. It became communion of soul and purpose. Lee Sin taught her to hear the spirit world's whispers, the breath of trees, the lament of stones. Leona taught him the weight of duty born with hope, not penance. Their sparring matches grew fierce, laughter interspersed with bruises and bruised egos. Late one evening, after a brutal match, they collapsed into laughter, breathless and disarmed. Lee Sin brushed a stray lock of hair from Leona's face, his touch reverent, In that fleeting moment, the abyss between them closed. Only duty pulled them apart once more, their love kindling like a hidden ember. Chapter 6. Morgana's Perspective. Far across the mountains, Morgana brooded in her fortress of living vines and shadowed mirrors. She felt their bond growing, and it enraged her. "They are no different than those who chained me," she whispered to the darkness. To Morgana, love was a double-edged blade, a promise of freedom turned to chains of expectation. The Solari had demanded her loyalty, her obedience. In their betrayal, she had found a new creed, to tear down the heavens themselves. She sent visions of despair to Lee Sin and Leona, whispering doubts, weaving nightmares. Their hearts were her battleground as much as the soil of Ionia. Chapter 7. The Battle at Dawn's Edge. The mists of the silent forest clung heavily to the earth as Leona and Lee Sin approached the heart of the corruption. Morgana's forces had gathered, twisted spirits, corrupted Solari outcasts, and dark beasts summoned from the folds between worlds. Leona brandished her zenith blade, sunlight gleaming from its edge. Lee Sin tightened the bandages around his fists, channeling the spirit dragon into every fiber of his being. They exchanged a brief, fierce glance, a silent promise that they would not falter. The first wave came in a torrent of shadow. Leona thrust her shield forward, the light exploding outward and shattering the front ranks. Lee Sin moved like a tempest, fists striking with blinding speed, his every motion a dance between destruction and grace. Together, they carved a path through the nightmare. Morgana descended from the withered canopy, her wings of darkness unfurling. Her voice was a siren's call and a hammer's blow. "You fight to protect chains," she hissed. "You fight to preserve lies." The earth cracked beneath her words, and shadows swallowed the sun. Lee Sin charged first, sensing the true source of her corruption, the festering pain, the wound never healed. Their clash shook the forest, light against darkness, spirit against void. But Morgana was cunning. As Lee Sin struck the final blow to sever her magic from the forest's heart, she lashed out in a desperate gambit. Dark tendrils wrapped around him, sinking deep, and with a deafening crack, he was hurled across the battlefield. Leona screamed his name. Chapter 8. The Wounded Flame. Leona fought like a star unleashed. Her fury scorched the battlefield, driving back Morgana's forces. But the moment she saw Lee Sin lying broken amidst shattered stone and twisted roots, her heart faltered. She dropped to his side, hands glowing with radiant energy. His chest rose shallowly, blood staining his robes. "Stay with me," she whispered, her tears falling freely. Around them, the battle raged, but Leona saw only him. Her shield formed a dome of sunlight, warding off further attacks. Karma and Shen arrived with reinforcements, buying them precious moments. With great effort, Leona lifted Lee Sin into her arms. She would not let the darkness claim him. Not him, never him. Chapter 9. Return to Solari's embrace. They travelled for days, across scarred lands and silent valleys. Leona barely slept, focusing every ounce of her power on keeping Lee Sin alive. His spirit flickered like a dying candle, but it did not go out. At last, they reached the foot of Mount Targon. The Solari priests, awed and fearful, admitted them into the sacred halls. Leona laid him upon the altar of the Dawnbringer, the place where miracles were whispered to be born. For hours she prayed, her hands never leaving his. When he finally stirred, weak but alive, she wept openly, uncaring of the watching acolytes. "You came back to me," she breathed. Lee Sin's cracked lips formed a faint smile. "I would always find my way to your light." Chapter 10. Deeper than words. Healing took time. As Lee Sin recovered, Leona stayed by his side. She read to him, taught him the hymns of the Solari, listened as he spoke of Ionian legends. In those quiet days, their bond deepened beyond the battlefield, beyond duty. They learned each other's fears, hopes, dreams. One night, as starlight bathed the temple, Lee Sin reached out, tracing the curve of her cheek with trembling fingers. "You are more than the sun," he said. "You are the promise of a new dawn." Tears filled her eyes, and she pressed her forehead to his, feeling the steady beat of his heart. "And you," she whispered, "are the spirit that gives it meaning." In that moment there were no wars, no gods, no expectations. Only two souls, finally home. I hope you enjoyed the story. Sleep tight and sweet dreams. Until next time, good night.